up a comrade that I had worked with for several years, who is a single mother of a revolutionary African child, who is in 4 separate organizations. You are trying to tell me you cannot join one, and this sister is representing the Ujima People's Progress Party, the Black Alliance for Peace, the Hood Communist Blog, and an organization she founded, Liberation Through Meaning. So she can be in 4 organizations, you can be in 1. Please welcome Erica Caines.
Peace, Africans. I do want to thank the Maryland Council of Elders for organizing another fantastic event and inviting me another year to come and speak. I want to thank Sister Avena especially for the invitation and also allowing me to gift books to children. In the back, I'm gifting about 200 books. They're all Black children's books by Black authors. They're free, so please go and check them out. Please grab one. So as Onyesonwu said, I am a member of the Black Alliance for Peace. I'm also a member of Ujima People's Progress Party. I wear a lot of hats, too many sometimes. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Black Alliance for Peace. Ujima People's Progress Party is an organization member of Black Alliance for Peace, and it's an alliance that seeks to recapture and redevelop the historic anti-war, anti-imperialist, and pro-peace position of the Black radical tradition. So African Liberation Day has been my favorite time of year. I always say it's the most wonderful time of year since I've been invited to participate 5 years ago. So not only do I get to be among beautiful Africans, but we also get to set an agenda for African people on this day. So African Black people in the U.S. have a colonial relationship with the larger society. It is a relationship categorized by institutional racism. So the colonial status operates in 3 areas: politically, economically, and socially. We are politically stunted with our political decisions made for us due to a lack of political power. We are economically disenfranchised and dependent on the larger society. And this is maintained by a social order that designates police in our communities as occupying forces. So as the late, great Glenn Ford told us, the Black misleadership class is not a scientific term, but instead a weaponized political terminology with specific meaning based on Black historical and current political realities. So the term refers to those Black political forces that emerged at the end of the 60s, eager to join the corporate and duopoly political forces, mainly Democrat Party, and sell out the interests of the overwhelming working class Black masses in the process. Their interests do not lie with us, the working class masses, but instead are tied to those of U.S. imperialism and its ruling class. So who are the Black misleadership class? Who are those members? We could talk about the mayor, Brandon Scott, who has been in leadership through the city's water crisis. He uses AAVE and an afro to deter from the policies he supports, like the John Hopkins getting a police force, or the new state's attorney, Ivan Bates, who is encouraging youth criminalization, which contradicts his progressive campaign, just like his predecessor, Marilyn Mosby. And recently, Bates welcomed the Israeli Defense Force into Baltimore, promising to strengthen partnerships supporting the existing deadly exchange program between the IDF and the Baltimore Police Department. Or what about Maryland's first Black governor, who rose to ascension quickly? A military vet promising to bring in more police into a city that currently not only has a deadly exchange program, which again is a massive exchange between the U.S. and Israeli police and Israeli military, where hyper-militarized policing techniques and technology is shared, but this city also has a 1033 program, which is part of the Department of Defense budget, where military equipment gets transferred to civilian law enforcement agencies, and this includes Morgan and Coppin State University. And most recently, Operation Relentless Pursuit makes Baltimore one of 7 cities, including Detroit, Albuquerque, Cleveland, Kansas City, Memphis, and Milwaukee, selected for Trump administration's surge of federal, state, and local resources. The dire conditions that exist in African poor working class communities in the U.S., specifically in Baltimore, where more than half of poor residents live in deep poverty, meaning they live at or below 50% of the federal poverty line, which is the result of intentional, systematic neglect under a white supremacist, capitalist, imperialist system. This leaves poor African and other colonized people without the ability to live our full lives. We are systematically dehumanized, and police are called to our communities to carry out the standard imperialist orders with every intent to do more harm on behalf of the state than actually serving any positive purpose. So the uneasy truth about the Black misleadership class across America is that eternal to our community. It often goes unanswered and unchallenged, but rarely unprotected by class collaborators. The struggle for Black power and Black freedom requires the defeat of neocolonialism, this comprador class, which is the indirect rule of American capitalist, racist, and imperialist policy in the guise of Black misleaders. Black political leaders of the two capitalist parties who have no history of supporting a Black working class agenda must be challenged. Black working people must unhinge our interests, needs, and struggles from those of Black misleaders. On April 4th, the Black Alliance for Peace launched its Zone of Peace campaign with the objective of recognizing this entire region as our Americas. That means recognizing the right to self-determination and sovereignty and the end of militarism for all peoples of the Americas. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but rather the achievement by popular struggle and self-defense of a world liberated from the interlocking issues of global aggression, nuclear armament and proliferation, unjust war, subversion, through the defeat of global systems of oppression that include colonialism, imperialism, patriarchy, and white supremacy. So Black radical police activism exposes the intricable link between militarism and war, and capitalist exploitation and racist domination in the struggle for a durable peace that moves beyond war and the elimination of militarism toward the historical fulfillment of equality, justice, and decolonization. So to contend with the zone of peace, we would have to contend with the layers of policing of neocolonialism. We must think of local and domestic manifestations of the zone of peace as community control, as liberated zones, territories where the masses are in near complete control over their political and socio-economic destinies because they control the institutions. Because if we are talking about African Liberation Day as an institution and the zone of peace as a guide to ensuring particular conditions so that people do not get entrapped by the state, then we are talking about liberated zones. We are talking about community control. We are talking about building socialism. We must continuously raise the fact that African Black people in the U.S. are internally colonized subjects, and we see this especially true in the ways that domestic and global imperialism manifests as counterparts. We must smash neocolonialism. Forward ever, no compromise, no retreat.
Excellent. Please give it up one more time for Erica Caines. If you want to know more about the work of this revolutionary African woman, please visit the Black Alliance for Peace table in the park. They're right in the center of the park. They also have the Ujima People's Progress Party over here to my left. And then Liberation Through Reading has a table over here in the back in the kids area. Please visit the organizational tables.